What's up, YouTube? So, in this video, while I'm feeding you information, I'm gonna be feeding myself because I'm hungry. I was on daddy duty. I barely had time for myself. I was able to get some dishes and stuff done. And yeah, so this video is gonna touch upon the most current talked about situation that's going on where the supporters of Joe Biden from the NAACP to other areas in the black community and how he was addressing them like they were his little children, him being stern with them and them being so obedient and receptive of what he was saying without question. I'm telling you. And I'm gonna just throw a little inkling in there. Because people asked me a few months back when it came to like where I stood with Black Lives Matter or the NAACP. Give you a little history on myself when it came to the NAACP, which is kind of like how Black Lives Matter is conveniently in their reactive responses towards certain particular incidences that they cater to when it comes to black tragedies. Okay? Hold on. So, when I lived in Willimantic, this is going back 20-something years ago. My daughter was born. She had just came into this world. And I was having some issues with the being harassed by the Willimantic police. Because I had to go from Willimantic to Colchester to work at the Stop Shop in that district. And being the assistant manager in the deli department, I had a lot of responsibilities. So I had a lot of elaborate hours too, working myself like a horse. Well, one particular morning, and this is when there used to be a Blockbuster, I pulled off, went to go drop some movies off, and was intercepted in the parking lot by this Willimantic police officer. He was arrogant, rude, and everything. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? I had enough. I'm going to go file a complaint. Because I said I was going to go file a complaint, that's where I got my ass handed to me. I was told I ain't filing shit. I got maced. I was like somewhere between in and out the car because I had dropped the movies off in the little drop box. So that took me off guard. His backup came. I got slammed to the ground. Head gashed into the asphalt. Has a big old abrasion on the side. The blood vessel on my eye popped. I was charged with resisting arrest, assault on an officer, because the officer fell down when he tried to take me down, and because he got bruised. But you know how that goes. When they mess you up, they got thrown there to something to justify. So I had to fight that. Okay? Oh, and then they try to say possession. Never had drugs, never did drugs, nothing like that. They dropped the drug charge because when I went to the hospital to get seen, they ran all these tests and stuff. Of course, I was negative. They took pictures. I took those pictures with me so I could go to my lawyer or whatever. Now, before I got myself a lawyer, I called the NAACP. They told me that they wasn't willing to do anything to represent me or whatever. My court case wasn't going to help me find a lawyer or nothing like that. But if everything turned out where I was able to beat the case, then I could come back to them. And if I choose to sue the Willimantic police, that they would support me. Why the hell do I need you when it's only convenient for you so you could benefit off of what I had to go through instead of being with me from the beginning to the end? So that let me know where I stood with my black representation that didn't represent me at all. Okay? By the way, to the NAACP. Because you showed your true colors with that bullshit. Now, did my 2 years probation, got off, my record was expunged, boom. So, when asked about the Black Lives Matter, I saw the similarities to where they only advocated for people that were black who, in the public's eye, are caught on camera. Oh, they knew that was a guaranteed payday. See, these organizations that claim that they represent black people are only the representation of black people whenever there's a tragedy that they can exploit and profit off of. But when there's other tragedies that concerns the black community, they are nowhere to be found. There is nothing about Black Lives Matter applied to these suicides, these lynchings and stuff like that. Or these children coming up missing. Or the organ harvesting and stuff like that. You don't hear nothing about the Black Lives Matter. Or anything from the NAACP or the Al Sharptons or the Jesse Jacksons and these little whatever. Under the table crumb snatchers. Looking for a biscuit from the master. Now, there was a leaked audio where Jim Crow Joe was addressing some of these black leaders, so to speak. That's the title that they give themselves. But they ain't leading nothing. And they're talking about, oh, well, we did our job to get you the black vote. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, black people are only convenient when it benefits other people. But when it comes to benefiting ourselves, nothing's to be said. Nothing's to be done. Business as usual. Thank you for coming out, folks. Good night. Peace. But in that meeting, he was talking to them, addressing them with such sternness and arrogance, and like they wasn't nothing. And you know what? This is who you wanted to represent you. This is what you got. Deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And in the midst of all of that, in the African diaspora, however you say that, I'm gonna put a link in the comment section. I'm not gonna say in the link in the description, because every time I say link in the descriptions, I get all these responses and stuff saying there's not a link in the description. So now I'm gonna say, when I leave a comment under the comment section, it will be under my comment, the link. Okay. There. Hopefully I said it accurately this time. But Phil, he said, why is it that whenever black people bring something up or whatever, nothing really gets addressed, or there's really no answers or responses directed specifically towards black people? It's everybody else except black people. Joe Biden was talking about, in the year 2040, we are going to be the white minority and stuff, and you black people, you need to learn how to get along with the Hispanics because they're going to outnumber you guys. Okay, but Joe, you're having a discussion with these black folks about black issues and stuff. We're not talking about other people. If you want to talk to Hispanics, you go talk to them. If you have an issue with you guys losing your position in numbers and your power, which that ain't never gonna happen unless we get invaded or some shit, but you worried about the wrong thing. But the arrogance and the tone that he took up with the panel and stuff, it, it was laughable and disturbing at the same time. It was laughable because now you got all these people with the I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you. Now look at y'all dumbasses. And the other thing, well, Joe Biden, he's gonna be Jim Crow Joe. Couldn't expect anything less or anything different. But I want to talk about missing pieces of the puzzle, because I know when I said something about the Hispanics or the representation of being a person who is Hispanic, whether you Puerto Rican, Colombian, Mexican, or whatever, or Dominican, um, it's not to say that I dislike or have a distaste for Hispanic people. I don't. I'm not going to sit here and justify or try to prove to other people, because I know there's a complicated relationship between black folks and Hispanic folks. That some is good and some is bad. You hear mostly of the bad and how we don't get along due to various factors. Now, a lot of people like to make references towards history and stuff. I myself included. But where I make references towards history is to ask these questions or point out certain things that I find a little disturbing as to how black folks are conveniently there or made the sacrificial lamb, whereas everybody benefits off of our sacrifices. And it's not complaining, it's to say, where the fuck is everybody else when we're putting forth the work to bring about equality, or make reforms, or change in policy, or make a stance against injustices and stuff like that? And when we get the ball on rolling, and when these changes are put into place, because everybody always want to make references towards slavery like that was the only chapter in black history. No, there was many others that followed after fucking slavery. You had the Jim Crow, the Willie Lynch, segregation, the civil rights movement, and other incidences and inserts that you could put in between those eras and stuff, to where black people had to go through that era, but you never hear about anybody else that was involved or existed during that time. I didn't hear nothing about any Hispanic people or anybody else during those times and stuff. And those are the missing pieces of the puzzle that I be talking about. And people get highly triggered and highly offended. And I'm saying it's a question. I'm not putting anybody down. It's a question, because all that is being taught, all that's being told, is that black people was part of a movement when we were unified, when we had our shit together, when we wasn't entertaining nonsense that divided us and kept us divided and looking down upon one another with the bougie and non-bougie attitudes, both guilty of being ignorant. But when I said, when there was things put in place where we fought for equality, it was then and only then that it was noticeable that, hey, whatever black people fought for, everybody else benefited from. And like I said, whenever there's a change in policy, whenever certain laws were adjusted, reforms put in place, change in mandates, it was black people who stood on the forefront to make sure that those things happen. But nobody cares to how should I say, show gratitude. Instead, they take for granted what we put, what the work that we put into to make sure everybody else, not just us, because whatever we do, everybody else benefits from. And I'm not the only person of color who has pointed that out, who has taken notice, because I said it before I started hearing other people saying the same shit that I was saying. I was like, damn, I thought I was the only one who took notice of that. But when you bring that up, people get angry. And they have this distaste towards black people. And you see it. And you see it. And I'm gonna tell you something too, speaking of people who are Hispanic. And I'm gonna say this because when I was dealing and interacting and involved with my best friend, who I consider to be my sister, her father, Jose Claudio, wise man, hard worker. He educated me on a lot of stuff based on what he knew. And I respected that man because he was a single father. He was a single father working 2 jobs, one full time that brought him, had his own house, and raised daughters. Okay, sent them to private school. That's how me and my best friend, my sister, got acquainted and tight. Okay. Something I'm gonna share, and those who are of either Puerto Rican, Dominican Republic, Mexican, or whatever. Some may relate to this and can identify. We all know that there are black Hispanics and that there are white Hispanics. You know that the same mentality that this country has conformed to, where one is held up on a pedestal and the other is looked down upon, who you think? Who you think amongst the Hispanic community that applies to? Just let me know. Just let me know. And I was like, why? I was ignorant at the time. I was like, if you speaking to Puerto Ricans, I was like, if you're Puerto Rican, you're Puerto Rican. What matters what if you're either light or dark? Because they wanted the acceptance of those who were superior as to those who were inferior. If you was inferior, because no one wants to be treated less than. So of course, and it's a practice. It's a practice that has to stop. It has to stop. But unfortunately, we can't get past our own nonsense. So, I don't know. But anyway, that's all I got. I need to go to sleep. I'm worn out. Until next time, until next video.